So again, our last session actually we have discussed about that first pipeline creations. The first pipeline actually we are going to create it for that file copying data, not for moving, file copying data. The file copying, so how we are going to copy the data? So from the blob storage to the blob storage. So within the blob storage, actually, we are going to move the data. So we have to create that our blob storages. So here, so all these blobs actually already we discussed. So we have to create the storage account, and we have to upload the file into the storage account, and we have to create the Azure Data Factory, and then link services for the blob storage using the integration runtime. So the link services we have to create it using the integration runtime. So then we have to create the source data references. The source data references is nothing but it's a data set. The data set link services is a different, and data set is a different. The links services actually, so we are going to create it for the connection path. But in that path, actually, we will use that integration runtime. The integration runtime only going to be handled that all the connection related processing. Then the data source, the data source actually, so references for the data sources means the data set we are going to create it. The data set is, so it is going to be refer that your folder or file. See here, the create sync data reference. The sync is the destination. Sync here, here the sync is representing the destination. And we have to create the pipeline. So the pipeline, we have to debug it. Then we have to run the pipeline, and we have to monitor the pipeline. So this is the steps we have to follow it in the demo. See, here we are going to use that our CSV file format. The CSV is nothing but it's a comma separator view format data. That means the data will be separated by the delimiters. The delimiters so might be that comma or pipeline or that tab like this, one type of separator or delimiter we can use it. And this file, the each line is representing as a record. Each line is representing as a record. Each record consists of one or more fields separated by commas. That's all. So this is a sample structure image of that CSV file. So CSV file. See here, this is the sample for CSV. So we are going to copy the data from the blob to blob. This is our blob storage, and this is the container. In the storage session, actually, we have discussed about that our blob storages. And the blob storages, we will have that 4 types of storages. Instead of the blob, we are having the 4 types of storage method, that container, table, files, queue concepts. So this type of storage methods are available. So here this input is, but maximum we are going to use that our container only. So the container here, this input is the container. So this is our file name. And to connect with this environment, we are going to create the link services. Using the link services, link service is going to be keep that our path details. So using the link services, we are going to store the data, path information actually we are going to store it, and the data set actually is going to be represent that file, exact file, which file you are going to use it as a source file, the exact file it is going to be represent. Then using the copy activity, you are going to copy the file, copy. Then destination, it's called a sync actually, this is the blob storage. Container name is going to be output. Here that input, the left side input is the container name, the right side output is the container name. The input is a source environment, the output is the destination or sync environment. And the same here in the file name, we are going to store it, and using the link services, we are going to connect. So the link services actually, everything it will be connected. So everything it will be connected using that Azure integration runtime. Everything it will be connected using the Azure integration runtime, because you are going here. So again and again, I'm telling you here, we are going to move the data from the blob to blob only. The blob storage is actually, it is available in that our cloud environment, the Azure cloud environment. So within the Azure cloud environment, if you want to move the data, what we have to use it, we have to use it Azure IR. So then it's fine. So all of these things we are going to define it in the data factory. So the data factory is like a manager. It is going to manage all these things. It is going to manage all these things. So data factory. Fine. The estimations, how many link services we are going to create it. For each storage, so one link service is recorded in ADF v2. In our scenario, actually, we are having this blob storage only. Within the blob storage only, we are container only going to be different. Container only going to be different. The input container and output container, but the storage environment is the blob storage only. So since we are having that only one storage environment, we have to use that our one link services, we have to create it. And how many data sets we have to create it. In this scenario, we have to create the two data sets, one for source identification, another one for destination identification. That means source file and then destination file. Then how many copy activities we are going to use it. Only one copy activities here we are going to use it to store the data from the blob to blob. And how many pipelines? Only one pipeline. What type of IR we need to use it to copy data from that blob to blob storages? Can anyone tell me the answer for this fifth question? What type of IR here we have to use it?
Azure IR, sir.
So Azure integrated IR, integrated runtime. So we have to use it since we are moving the data from the blob to blob. So the blob storage is the one of the resources in our Azure cloud environment, so that we have to use that our Azure IR, Azure integration runtime, we have to use it. Then we can do the debugging. So for the debugging, we are having two ways. One is the debug, another one is the trigger. The debugging actually, so we can do the debugging means the debugging, we are going to run our pipeline without saving a pipeline, we can run it. Without saving pipeline, we can run it. Trigger. So after saving, if you want to run, you can do it. Actually, debugging in the two options are available, two features are available. Without saving, we can run it, and partial run also you can do it. The partial run. The detailed we will see it in the hands-on. And trigger, the full run, and schedule also possible. So we will have a separate session for the trigger. So we are having three types of trigger features. So we have the different separate detailed session. And ADF debugging functionality allows testing pipelines without publishing changes. This functionality here, the save concept is called publishing. Publish is the save means this functionality also allows settings by breakpoints and activities which should ensure partial pipeline execution. Example, in a pipeline, if you have copy activity, then store procedure activity. So totally two activities, one the copy, another one is this procedure. We need to test my copy activity with executing store procedure activity. Then we need to create the breakpoint on copy activity to control execution of store procedure. So one out of two, only one I want to execute, rest of the one I don't want to run it. Then I can put the breakpoint and you can run it. Fine. So the prerequisite things, so storage account details. What is a storage account? You should know. What is the Azure Data Factory? You should know. What is the integration runtime and types? You should know. What is the link services? What is the data set? What is the activity? What is pipeline? So all of these things you should know. So already we discussed all of these things in our previous sessions. Find the required resources for our demo. We need that blob storage account and we need that Azure Data Factory too. That's all. The naming conventions, everything. So already we discussed. So if you are having that Azure platform storages, then you have to start the name with the AB. Then link services you are creating for the Azure blob storages na LS ABS. The Azure Data Lake na ADLS, LS ADLS. The data set DS. The data set for blob storages na then ABS. The data set for data lake na then ADLS. So SQL, ASQL, LS ASQL, DS ASQL, data warehouse as ASDW, LS ASDW, DS ASDW, SQL and LS SQL, DS SQL, Oracle, LS Oracle, DS Oracle. So this is the way we have to give the name. And for the pipeline, we have to give the name pipeline. If you are creating for the data movement purpose, then you have to use the PL data. Pipeline, if you are using for the transformation, then you can do the PL tran. So like this, you can give the name for your pipelines. So let's see how we can create that our demo. So go to that your portal, and here just I'm going to create it portal.azure.com. So portal.azure.com is the URL. So you have to log in into this portal using that your credentials. So first time if you are created now, so you will have the free trial. Using the free trial, you can work out. So after 3 days, the free trial will be expired. So that time you have to create that your subscription pay as you go. You have to subscribe it. So the pay as you go subscription, once you started to use it now, the charges will be there for that each activities and each usages, whatever the resources you are using for each one, there will be charge. Now actually I'm going to create that our storage first. How we can create the storage? So as per our, so the steps what we have to do. So first we have to create the storage account. We have to create the storage account. So I'm going to create it. The storage account, you can create it by clicking this one, the storage account. The storage account, or else what you can do it, you can type and search storage account. So this is the icon. This is the icon. So storage accounts, we have to click and creates the storage accounts. And here in this window, subscription. So for the free users, it will be free trial. So for mine, the free trial is expired the long back. So 2 years back actually it's got expired. So I'm using that pay as you go subscription. So I have that subscription only one. Then you have to create the resource group. The resource group you have to create it. Already told you, if you're going to use that your Azure resources, and the Azure resources should be created one of the resource group. Suppose if you are working in the dev environment, for the dev environment, there will be a separate resource group. And for the quality test environment, testing environment, if you are using now the testing environment, there will be a separate resource group. For the production, some production, it will be a separate resource group. So the relevant resource group, you have to use it. As of now, actually, we have created that one resource group in the name of dev.org. The same resource group, I'm going to create my storage account. The same resource group, I'm going to create that storage account. So without selecting the resource group, you cannot create any resource. Without creating the resource group, you cannot create that any resource. Right? So here what I'm doing now. So in this dev environment, actually, we have created that already one resource in the name of dev.org. So that one I'm selected for this one. Now we are going to create that one blob storage. So for the blob storages, actually, I'm going to give the name. So this one, I'm going to use it, my blob storage account, blob storage account. So in the beginning, actually, I'm giving that input blob storage account. Input blob storage account. But for the input and output, for both the purpose, we are going to use that the same blob storages only. Then if you are giving that input blob storage, now it will not be a meaningful name. So that I'm going to remove it. Just I'm telling the reasons. Because so blob storage is only one blob storage only I'm going to use it. Container only going to be different. Container only going to be different. The blob storage going to be same blob storage only. Then what we have to do? I'm going to use that blob storage account name. The blob storage account name should be a globally unique name. So here, what I'm going to use it for, I'm using my name just for the difference. So blob storage account in the real-time environment, actually what we will use it now, the project related name, we will choose it. Project related name, we will choose it. So, okay, blob storage account Paul is the name of the blob. So is it accepting? Yes, it's accepting. How I'm confirming now? So by navigating to the next option, there is no any error. But so when I'm removing this part, it was thrown the error message. The storage account name should be blob storage account. Name account name is already taken by someone. So it is not a valid name. Okay, fine. So then what I'm trying, I am trying to understand the name by giving this one like this one, the blob storage account. The field can contain only lowercase letters and numbers. Name must be between 3 and 24 characters. It is not allowing. It is not allowing. This is not allowing the special characters. This is not allowing. So I'm removing this special characters. The special characters. But this name is not a unique name. So I'm using this part. Now it is a unique name. So I'm showing you why I cannot split that two characters. Otherwise, what I'm trying now. So blob space, storage space, it is not allowing. It will not allow for that multiple names. The blob storage's name, it will not allow the multiple name, it's multiple word actually. So it should be a single name. It should be a single word. The blob storage's name, it should be a single name. That's fine. So what is the name of this blob storages? Here I'm using that blob storage account for then region. The region, regarding the region already we discussed that. So if you are going to create any one of the resource, not only the blob storage, any one of the resource, and actually we have to create that we have to select the region. The region you have to select it based on that user from where they are going to access those blob storages. If the user is going to be accessed from that US and East environment, you can choose that East US. The related actually, so you have to when you're selecting the region, so you have to think from the which place the customer is going to access this blob storages. That is very important. Unnecessarily you don't want to make that a performance issue by creating that different location. For example, so the data, if it is located in India and the user they are available in that US, so every time whenever they are sending the data or getting the data, every time they have to hit into that our blob storages which is located in the India server. Suppose if you created in the India as a region, unnecessarily every time the data will transfer between that India and the US. Whenever they are sending the data, it will transfer. Whenever getting the data, it will transfer. Unnecessarily it will take that more traveling time. The more traveling time if it is taking means, then the slowness will be there. The slowness is here, it is called the performance issue. The performance now, we have to avoid that slowness. Performance improvement means, so we have to avoid the slowness. If it is taking more time, then the performance issue is there, then we have to avoid it. So performance issue, we should not make it. So we should be very clear which region we have to select it. These things actually, the real-time scenario we will discuss, and then that our customer or that our project management team will instruct that which region you have to select it for which resource. That information you should be clear. Then it's fine. The performance. The performance is actually, we have discussed about the performances, that it's nothing but the hard disk features. We have discussed HDD or SSD. HDD or SSD. If you are selecting that standard now, so your hard disk, it will be that HDD format. If you are selecting that premium, it will be that SSD type of hard disk. It will be the performance wise, it will be the more performance, the speed, storage, data, everything processing, it will be speed. So the standard now, it will be that HDD hard disk drive features. So general purpose V2 account. Here, just I'm going to use it as it is, the default one. And redundancy. The redundancy, we have discussed about the redundancy, the data backup, replica of the data or duplicate data, keeping in that our same environment, the same data center. It means the local redundant storage. And if you want to keep the data in that your different zone. So for example, we have discussed about that one, we have one zone we are having in the Hyderabad, another zone we are having in that our Delhi. So if you want to keep the data in the data center Hyderabad as well as in the Delhi, that time we can choose that zone redundant. So suppose if you want to keep the data, the zero level, actually the zero level. So one data should be in that India, another copy, redundant copy should be in that US. You can choose that redundant feature. Geo redundant storage. Geo zone redundant. Geo zone. Geo as well as the zone. Different country, different location. Yes, we can do it. So, and the redundancy, so we can choose it as per your requirement. We have discussed detailed about this redundancy features, just to go through that one. Now here, actually, I'm going to keep it this one, a locally redundant storage feature. Locally redundant feature. So because of that reason only, asked you everyone to refer that all the previous sessions, whichever we have started are covered for the ADF related, Azure Data Factory related, which whatever we have covered, that integration runtime session and the storage session. So all those two content is very, very important for that upcoming sessions. Whatever it is we are going to see in the future, everything it will be based on those concepts only. So that is the basic things. So that is the reason only I asked everyone to refer that our last Friday session and last Saturday sessions. That's fine. So now we have created, we have provided all the inputs in the basic tab, and I'm navigating to advanced. In the advanced, record secure transfer for STAP operations, enable blob public access and storage account key access, everything as it is. I'm going to use it as it is. I'm not going to do anything. This part is important. The data lake storage gen 2, this part is important, whether we want to check this one or not. Here actually we are going to create that Azure blob storage, not the data lake storage. Azure data ADLS, that is ADLS. Azure data lake storage is a different, Azure storage, Azure blob storage is a different. Here we are creating that our storage, the Azure blob storages. So we don't want to check this one. When we have to check this one, if you are going to create that our Azure data lake storage, then that time we have to create this one. That's fine. And Azure files, enable large file shares. So the features, blob storages, the features and everything, I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm not going to choose anything, because the access tiers, regarding the access tiers also we have discussed hot, cool, and archive access tiers. The three types of access tiers we have discussed. But for this standard, the standard only now we are choosing. So the standard, so actually we are having only, for the standard we are having the access tier features only two, hot and cool, only two. By default, hot is selected. Just I'm going to keep it as it is. That's all. Go to the next, the networking, nothing to change it. The default, the access features, data protection, encryption, then tags. So review and create. Everything as it is. Just I'm going to keep it as it is. Just go to this review and create and click the create. Click the create. See, the deployment is in progress. I'm opening that another tab. So here, just I'm clicking that portal now. So during this time, we will check that our ADF. So it is creating the first tab. We are creating that our blob storages. In the second tab, already we have created that our ADF pod. The Azure Data Factory V2 version is already we created. Suppose if you forget it now, one more time, I will show you the steps. I'm not going to create that one more Azure Data Factory, but I will show you the steps. See, if you want to create that your Azure Data Factory now, just click this Data Factories, or else here you can click this one. So the Data Factory. So this is the one. So either here or there, you can choose it. And here, the Azure Data Factories, if you are navigator now, the created data factory, you can see this one already. We have created one data factory, and then this is subscription, and this is the resource group, and this is the location. Suppose if I want to create the new now, click the create and the subscription. That resource group, you have to choose it. If I'm choosing this one, I'm going to create it for my development, so that I'm using that same one. And here you have to use the name. You have to give the name. So what data factory we are going to create it? So I'm going to create the data factory. So ADF Selva. Then same, the data factory name is already taken, choose a different name. So somebody taken. It's now it's available. So something delayed. So now it's available. And the region actually, one point you have to remember, most probably try to keep all the resources region the same. If all resources are going to be used for the same purpose now, the same customer purpose, if you are going to create it now, then try to keep all the resources location or region is the same region. So we have created that our custom blob storages. So we have created using that region, that the East US data center only we have used the data center. So here I'm using same the East US, and then version always should be V2. The V1 you should not select. V1 it will not be available in the future. It will be deprecated now. It means removed. So always you have to select the V2 only for the ADF creation. Then go to the Git configuration. The Git configuration. So we are not going to do any of the Git repository configuration now, so that we have to check. We have to check it. I will tell you that later, during the end of the session, end of the training time, why this Git is need. I'll tell you later. The networking, rest of the things as it is, the default one. Then review and create. So here, I'm just, if I'm clicking the create now, so same like this one, the configuration, the deployment will be initiated, and what will be happen? See here, this one ADF will be created in the name of ADF Selva. But here already we have created the same way using that our ADF alt. So it's available. So now to navigate to that environment, to navigate or to open that your Azure Data Factory, you have to click this one, open Azure Data Factory. Open Azure Data Factory. So now you are in that Azure Data Factory. Yeah, 2 minutes, please. I'll be there. I'll back in 2 minutes.